Hello students, welcome to the very first class related to sentence correction and on our verbal fundamental cycle. My name is Thiago. I'm going to be your instructor for this class. I'm going to be your teacher. And sentence correction is a very popular topic among students. Some love it, some hate it. It's my personal favorite, you know. Many students struggle with sentence correction, but this very first class I'm going to introduce some structures. I'm going to talk about what sentence correction is and how you have to take a look at the exercise. And actually, sentence correction presents a set of challenges that engage students. It demands your attention, but you don't need to be afraid of the topic, right? That's why we have so many classes dedicated to the topic. We will end the cycle with a set of exercises on classes 11 and 12 to improve your skills, and that's it. So that's Elisa, the teacher in Rio de Janeiro. That's me. My name is Thiago, and that's the syllabus. Let me explain what's going to happen here. Okay, so there will be the introduction. Okay, what is sentence correction? I'm going to explain what sentence correction is. After that, I'm going to take a look at the problems. Okay, we're going to learn how to identify problems, the criteria of grammatical correctness, clarity, eliminating ambiguity, word placement, concision, eliminating redundancy. That's really important, and there will be some practice at the end of the class. So just to let you know, the dynamics of this class is a little bit different, and here is the pause button. You can pause whenever you want, okay, whenever you think it's necessary, and that's it. Let's start with what is sentence correction. The GMAT students tend to have the most difficulty in the sentence correction part of the verbal section. There are many reasons for that, but don't be afraid. In a nutshell, sentence correction requires that the student identify grammatical errors, syntactical issues, and stylistic inadequacies that might occur in a sentence. Many mistakes in this section occur because the test taker ignores three major criteria, which will be the subject of tonight's class, of today, this morning, wherever you may be. Here we will address these types of errors. You'll be given passages of various lengths, each with an underlined excerpt. The question will prompt you to examine the underlined section. It doesn't mean that you have to ignore what is not underlined, right? We'll be talking about that in a minute. As in the other sections of verbal, you will find 5 alternatives listed below the passage. Only one of them is correct. Remember, you have on average a little less than 2 minutes to answer each question. So you have to keep your eyes open. You have to really pay attention to what's going on in order to succeed. Vou falar que ele está na sala errada, na verdade. Será que você vai
Oi. Oi.
So let's move on. Okay, how to proceed. Read the entire passage carefully. Can you identify any problems in the underlined section? If you can, read the alternatives thoroughly and see which one corrected the mistakes. If you cannot, not everything is lost. The first alternative always repeats the underlined section. If the section is indeed free of errors, the correct alternative will be the first. So just something that you have to take a look at is, as I've said, you don't have to ignore what is not underlined, right? There are many ways to see what they are trying to test, and it's important for you to know that. So you have to read everything carefully. Important. Correct alternatives mostly allow the original meaning intended in the underlined section. When choosing your answer, keep in mind that you should maintain the original meaning while correcting the grammar. What we mean with the original meaning? If you see that there's a contrast on the passage, you have to keep that contrast. If you see that one information is adding with the other, you have to keep that. That's what I want to express here with the original meaning intended. When choosing your answer, keep in mind that you should maintain the original meaning while correcting the grammar. Okay. Grammatically correct sentences that change the meaning are usually the wrong answer. That's important for you to know. Okay, topic 2, identifying problems. Let's take a look at that. That's the criteria that you have to follow. Besides proper grammatical constructions and sound deployment of syntax, style is key in sentence correction. Most questions combine a specific problem, be it a verb that you're going to take a look at class 8 with me, a pronoun or a modifier with teacher Elisa on class 9, with a stylistic problem. There are 3 decision criteria what to abide by. They are correctness. Is the sentence grammatically correct? This is number 1, really important. Clarity. Is the sentence clear to understand as possible? Does it avoid ambiguity? Concision. Does the sentence avoid unnecessary words? Are there any redundant terms? So if the sentence is long, right, and repeats words that you can make it concise without loss of meaning, so concision is important. Never sacrifice correctness and clarity for concision. The shortest alternative is not necessarily the clearest and the most correct. Just because the sentence is short doesn't mean it's grammatically correct. Let's take a look at this first part over here, clarity and concision. In New York, ordering pizza is easier than in Rio. In New York, placing an order of pizza is easier than in Rio. I'm pretty sure that you can understand this, these 2 sentences over here. However, ordering and placing an order is the same thing. So according to what GMAT wants, the first one would be appropriate. Okay? So it's important, even though it's grammatically correct, it's longer. It's really long. You can use one word without loss of meaning, and this word would be order. He previously withdrew his bet yesterday. He withdrew his bet yesterday. The first part, previously and yesterday, they mean the same thing. It's redundant. Okay, together they are redundant. So he withdrew his bet yesterday. Jazz music, unlike rock music, appeals to an audience of older listeners. Jazz music, unlike rock music, appeals to an older audience. So the audience of listeners, this audience could be also watchers. This is redundant. Okay, that's pretty much redundant. So jazz music, unlike rock music, appeals to an older audience would be the right alternative. Okay, he has to fill out a lot of paperwork in order to receive a visa to visit the USA. He must fill out a lot of paperwork to receive a visit to the USA. So this one here will be the correct one, right? Even though that has to and must, they practically have the same meaning. Must is more aggressive and insertive, you know. So it's something that you have this idea, this concept of obligation, you know. So he has to fill out a lot of paperwork in order to receive a visa to the USA. To receive a visa to visit. I don't know about you, but we only take visa if we want to visit. So the meaning to visit is implied right over here on the word visa to the USA. Okay, so as it's written over here, both are grammatically correct, but the latter is more concise than the former without loss of meaning. Okay, in the course of a period of 10 weeks, you should learn quite a lot of knowledge. So, 10 weeks. That's the period that we are talking about. The course of a period of 10 weeks, that is very long redundance. That's a really long redundance over here. So in 10 weeks would be perfect. You should learn quite a lot of knowledge. Learn and knowledge, they are redundant, okay? And quite a lot of knowledge is redundant as well. You can learn a lot or acquire knowledge. You cannot use learn and knowledge. In 10 weeks, you should learn a lot. In 10 weeks, you will learn a lot. Let's take a look at this one. What do you think about it? Do you think there's something, they are okay? What do you think? Here, we would change only the meaning, actually, right? Just imagine something like this. You are talking to your friends, and your friend says that in your course overseas, in 10 weeks you should learn a lot. So you have you will learn, no doubt about it. However, there's not so much pressure, you know. And your parents saying, in 10 weeks you will learn a lot because I'm paying, right? So your parents are paying for that, and you would understand that somehow it will happen. The future will happen. So basically, it's related to meanings. Let's take a look here at word placement. Let's illustrate this one. So word placement is essential to clarity. How you place words is essential to clarity. GMAT would prefer this first alternative over here. Okay. Word placement is essential to clarity. Let's take a look how the position of the words change the meaning of a sentence. Let's take a look. Only the good die young. This only over here restricts the good. So, which means that evil don't die young. Something like this. The good only die young. So this only over here restricts die, restricts the verb. That would mean that the good people don't do anything else than die young. That would be the meaning of this sentence. The good die only young. So this young here is an adjective, only is restricting this adjective, and would mean something like the good die, but how? Only young. If they're old, they're never gonna die. Something like this. And the only good die young. The only good would be the noun. Would be a noun, all right? So it would be something like this. People who have 99% of goodness in their hearts, but 1% of evil will not die young. The person who is 100% good will die young, right? So it's really restricting this, it making this noun saying that the person who is 100% good will die young. Let's take a look at another example here using once. Once you finish eating, do the dishes. So you eat first, then do the dishes. You finish eating once, and then you do the dishes. Here, this sentence is a little bit weird because it's not clear if you have another meal. But after that, you do the dishes. After that, you will not eat again. It's not so clear. So see how if you misplace a word, it may change the whole, what you want to deliver as the passage wants to, the meaning of the passage wants to deliver. So that's something really complicated. And the last example, finish eating once you have done the dishes. So what do you understand here? You do the dishes first, and then you eat. Moving on. Let's take a look at concision and other stylistic matters. For concision, the combination verb plus noun can often be replaced with a verb without loss of meaning. The council has reached without disagreement the decision that parking tickets are banned. The council unanimously decided to ban parking tickets. So, okay, so the council has reached the decision. They decided. On the first sentence, there are 3 words, and on the second one, you just use the verb. There are other examples here. Without disagreement. Unanimously. That parking tickets are banned. And just use the verb, to ban. And there you are. It's the same sentence without loss of meaning, much more concise. Verbal phrases can also be replaced with nouns. Billions of people all over the world wait for Christ to come again. Billions of people worldwide await for the second coming of Christ. Another thing that is really important, avoid forming, without necessity, new nouns out of gerunds. The GMAT will often create these kinds of new nouns just to confuse you. The arriving of his plane is scheduled for tonight. There is a noun. There is the verb to arrive, and there's a noun for that, which is arrival of his plane is scheduled for tonight. So the second example is much better. Arrival expresses the idea clearly enough to dispense with neologisms. So that's really important for you to know. I know that I may sound repetitive saying important all the time, but you cannot escape, you cannot let that pass, because GMAT is, if you are somehow stillborn and you really keep insisting saying that that sentence would be clear in a different context, right? You are going to be punished. Okay, no doubt about it. A valuable connector, that. Do not neglect the importance and value of the word that. On sentence correction, every now and then, the connector that will be tested. That's what they are going to use that to make the sentence a little bit more confused, or you'll be in doubt if you have to use that or which. And that's something that you cannot ignore. That is really important. I'm going to explain here. They all agree that coconut water is refreshing. Not all agree coconut water is refreshing. I'm pretty sure that you may be thinking, but that's the same meaning, and it's more concise. However, you cannot let the sentence be somehow ambiguous or any kind of meaning be missing, you know? So that's why you have to use that. He thinks that next year is it's a good time to take the test. Sally, my former teacher, believes that I didn't study hard enough. So take a look at these verbs. Watch out for these verbs, okay? There will be a class that we are going to talk about verbs that need this kind of structure. And the word that acts as a connector for indirect objects. GMAT most often prefers that you keep it in a sentence for concision and clarity, even though it's really, cohesion and clarity. So you need to keep it, okay? That's a really important word. You indicate the moon in the sky with your index finger, but you indicate that the moon is up in the sky with your index finger. If you take a look, if you take this word that out of the sentence, it would change the meaning. I wouldn't express what I want to express over here. Naturally, one ought to be careful. The word that is also a demonstrative pronoun. He prefers this restaurant over that one. That year was great for my family. That is also widely used as an intensifier. To be really honest, not exactly on GMAT specifically, right? But specifically in spoken language. The survey revealed that that burger wasn't that good. So that's the connector. It's connecting this part with this part of the sentence. The demonstrative pronoun that you somehow could substitute for this burger and wasn't that good, that you could substitute for so good, really good. That's intensifier. GMAT will mostly test you with will test that as a connector, but not as an intensifier. To be really honest, I've never seen that good if they are testing if you know how to use that as an intensifier in a sentence. Okay, modal verbs. I know that you may have studied that during your years while studying English, but I'm going to review them anyway here really fast. So let's start with, after you come back from school, you should do your homework. You should use for suggestions, okay? So that's why you use should. Advices as well. So after you come back from school, you must do your homework. It sounds stronger, so you use that for an obligation. After you come back from school, you could do your homework. There's a possibility, right? If you want that, if you want to do it, do it. There's a possibility, but not a great possibility, all right? So after you come back from school, you ought to. Ought to and should, they are exactly the same thing. The only difference is that when you use ought, you have to use to and you cannot use it in a question. Would you do your homework after you come back from school? It's a question that sounds something like hypothetical, okay? Would you travel to China if you had the opportunity? Something like this. And may I skip homework after school? May in a question you use for permission, and in an affirmative sentence or negative you want to express possibility. So these are the modal verbs. Okay, let's take a look at some exercises right now, but don't forget to take into consideration everything we discussed, everything you took a look during the beginning of the class. Okay, so don't forget that you have to analyze everything that is possible in a sentence. Let's take a look at the first example here. So this one, the first exercise, sorry. This first one here, only one part of the sentence is underlined, so you have to take a look at this part. Of course, don't forget the rest of the sentence and take a look at every single alternative. So you can pause the video, take a look, and after that we talk about it. So let's take a look at the sentence. However much United States voters may agree that there is waste in government and that the government as a whole spends beyond its means, it is difficult to find broad support for a movement toward a minimum state. The answer is letter A. Okay, first of all, however much is an idiom. There will be a class only related to that, to idioms. Idiom, it's something that is a group of words, maybe verbs, prepositions, different types of words that together they represent something and they cannot be changed. This organization of these words cannot be changed. So, however much means no matter how much, right? And it intensifies, it's somehow an intensifier here. However much United States voters may agree, so it's intensifying the verb agree. Okay, so that's why it's correct. Remember when I said that it's important for you to take a look at everything in the sentence. So agree that there's a waste in government and that the government as a whole spends beyond its means. So here they are parallel. There will be a class related to parallelism as well. But it's important for you to know right now that this parallelism is really important. Let's take a look why the others are wrong. Despite the agreement among United States voters to the fact you needed that over here. Of course, it would be really long. It's a mouthful sentence. But it's wrong because there's no that over here. C. Although United States voters agree, same problem. Here and here. If that wouldn't be necessary, C and D would be correct, right? Just imagine the scenario. Imagine that D and C are correct, and you have only these two alternatives left. Which one would you choose according to the GMAT criteria? C would be the right one since it's more concise, all right? In E, there is agreement among United States voters that, remember when you don't have to change the meaning, this, however much United States voters may agree, that shows controversy, okay? Shows it doesn't, I understand that there's no agreement. In letter E, you can see that there is agreement. So just to illustrate however much, here an example would be, however much I try to like reading comprehension, I always end up sleeping when studying for it. Something like this. Okay? So however much is an idiom that now you can add in your list of other idioms. Another exercise. So you can pause the video and select the right answer. Okay? The extraordinary diary of William Lyon Mackenzie King, Prime Minister of Canada for over 20 years, revealed that this most bland and circumspect of men was a mystic guided in both public and private life by omens, messages received in at senses and signs from heaven. The answer is letter A. Let's take a look why, first of all, why A is correct. So, here there's something really important. Just to let you know, this Prime Minister of Canada for over 20 years is just an extra, it's just a modifier. Right? It's just a characteristic of William Lyon Mackenzie King. And on this sentence here, you don't need to pay so close attention to this information. Okay, so here we go. Revealed that this most bland and circumspect of men was mystic guided in both public and private. So you can make something like this. Both X and Y. That's another idiom. Okay, so that's why this is the correct sentence. Let's take a look at the others and see if you can identify what is wrong. Just something, in a strategy. Just take a look the beginning of the sentence, right? So here you have that, this. What about the end of the sentence? What are they trying to test at the end of the sentence? So, and as well as, here as well as there's and on letter C. So if you just take a look at the beginning and at the end of the sentence, when the passage is not fully underlined, it's a way for you to try to understand what they are trying to test. Let's take a look at B. What's wrong with B? So here, this connection with both as well as is incorrect. On letter C, D, and E, there's no that, okay? Revealed that, it's really important to have this word here, right? And all of them, they are not parallel, okay? On letter C, you have both and, okay? That's cool. However, you don't have the word that. D and E, you have both as well as, both as well as. They are not idiomatic. So that's why it's wrong. Ready for another? There's another one over here. So take a look at the sentence, and you can pause the video right now. Okay, let's read the passage first. The imminent cash flow crisis that the museum faces, its survival depends on if it can broaden its membership and leave its cramped quarters for a site where it can store and exhibit its more than 12,000 artifacts. That's the answer. Letter B. On the sentence, I have depends on. And this depends on, it's the conditional. So I cannot use if because it would represent the same thing. So A is out. And just remember that whenever you use if, it takes only a condition, one condition or consequence, not two. B, whether it can broaden its membership and leave. Okay, so what is correct here? This word can, this modal verb, it has distributed value on two verbs. Can broaden and leave. Whenever you have to use a modal verb, you never use to or you never conjugate the following verb, okay, the main verb of the sentence. So they are correctly used over here. So what is wrong with C? Whether or not, just to let you know, GMAT discourages whether or not, okay, it's not a good use. They consider that's not so good because if it's whether, there's the possibility of not of this situation not happen. So if it's implicit, why would you include that on the sentence? It would make the sentence longer. Okay, moving on. As you can see on letter B, there is can. And on C, you cannot see the verb, you can see only the modal verb can at the end of the sentence. However, you have here the capability to. First of all, capability to is incorrect. It's capability of. You can use ability to, able to, incapability, incapable of, capability of, capable of. So that's why the sentence is incorrect. D, its ability for. Broadening its membership in living. So this is wrong. E, the ability for it to broaden its membership and leave. The ability for, not exactly, the ability to. So letter E is incorrect because of that. Let's take a look here at this exercise. Really interesting exercise, right? So you can pause the video and choose the correct alternative. Okay, so although schistosomiasis is not often fatal, it is so debilitating that it has become an economic drain on many developing countries. Letter A is the correct sentence, and let's take a look why. That disease here, schistosomiasis, even though it ends with the letter S, it's singular, as you can see here because of this verb. So you need to use a connection here to make it parallel. If it's singular in one part, you have to make this agreement with the first part of the sentence and with the other. So that's the verb, okay? And there's another idiom for you guys. It's so debilitating that. So it's so X that Y. That's the way I can see it, right? Because since it's an idiom, it must work that way. Okay, so it's so debilitated that it has become an economic drain on many developing countries. Remember when I said to take a look at the beginning and at the end of the alternatives? Here they are testing economic, and economical. So just to let you know, people, economic refers to the economy of a country. Economic, right? And economical, it's something that does not use much, or, for example, an economical car, right? So this is one characteristic that you just can eliminate E and B, but let's talk a little bit about B. It is of such debilitation, and I would need that over here. Such and that would work together as well. But the problem is that I don't have that and economical. C. So debilitating is it as to become an economic. So that's very weird. Actually, is it as? It's a really weird construction. D. Such is its debilitation. Okay, this it here is ambiguous. Okay, debilitation of what exactly? We don't know. And you would need that over here. It becomes an economic, so that's why D is wrong. Okay, guys, that's the end of the first class related to sentence correction. I hope that you could understand what is the first steps to take a look at sentence correction exercise, right? Don't forget to keep practicing and doing the lists. It's really important for your personal development. And that's it. If you have any questions, don't forget to reach us in our email address.